Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to this episode of Book Talk, which focuses on Pinoy Sci-Fi. I'm your host, Ren. I'm the author of Fate of a Distant Future. And this is brought to you by 8 Letters Publishing and Bookstore. So I hope you guys are okay. Like weather is a little bit, but hopefully today would be a fun afternoon for us because we're interviewing two very successful ladies on Pinoy Sci-Fi, and the first one that we're gonna have on the floor is 𝐒𝐜𝐢. 𝐒𝐜𝐢 she's a writer of the most recent stories such as Silence of the Stars, and today we're talking about her new book. And I'll let her introduce that to you guys. But it's very well received. I actually had the privilege of reading it beforehand before it was packaged, and she's an MA. She's doing her MA, and she's here with us to talk about her recent accomplishment. 𝐒𝐜𝐢, welcome to the show. Kamusta?
Hello, I'm fine. I'm doing well. I'm excited for this and coming launch of the book, as well as
Mm-hmm.
future titles um, in Pinoy Sci-Fi.
Yeah, no worries. Welcome. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what have you been doing? So, you got an MA. You're doing your MA, and you also teach creative writing. Uh, how's that going for you? Anong mga pangyayari? Like, but what can you tell us about how your typical day looks like?
Well, right now, I actually finished my thesis defense successfully, so I already have my MA and I'm teaching literature and creative writing. Um, to senior high school and college students. And my typical day, usually my all of my classes are scheduled in the morning. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens after that is that I prepare for the future classes in the afternoon.
Right.
And of course, I always make time to write because that not only enriches my professional my professional career. It adds credits to my
Mm-hmm.
portfolio, but it's also my passion, and I think that writing is a discipline that you have to hone. Even if you're working or studying, you really have to find time for it, or else your
Right.
skills will like wither.
Yeah. Yep. As a teacher, so nakakatanggap ka ba ng mga apple, gano'n, yung katulad yung sa, mga, yung nagdadala ng student na, hey, Miss Carmel, he's an apple. Gano'n. Wala na. Okay. And
No,
I
the
guess
only
that's
apples
no.
I received were like Mac notebooks with like papers and Google Docs written on them.
Oh,
So,
wala,
uh,
wala na. Hindi na uso
yeah,
yung,
different
hey,
kind of
Miss Carmel,
apples.
he's a gift. He's a
Mom,
nice. Oo.
here is your paper, and then can you give us some comments, and then I will
Yeah,
open them.
okay.
Yeah.
DM. All right. Okay. So we're here to talk about your new book. I mean, what inspired you first of all to write this new accomplishment of yours? What's it like? Uh,
What inspired
what?
it?
Yeah.
Several things inspired it. I think the main thing that inspired it, okay, because the first story in that collection is titled The Long Way Home, and what inspired it
Mm,
more than anything else besides historical figures, current events, is a
mm.
video game titled Detroit Become Human and a movie called Blade Runner. So these two things
Ah.
really informed my writing, and I wondered, this was way before ChatGPT became a thing. It was
Mm,
2020. It was
mm-hmm,
2020. I was a struggling writer. By
mm-hmm,
struggling, I mean I was struggling to get published. I didn't really have
mm-hmm.
anything in my portfolio at that time, so I wanted to like channel my emotions into like a character who's um, similarly struggling to make herself heard, and
All
that's
right.
what
Yep.
inspired me to write The Long Way Home.
Mm-hmm. And so then, how does Long Way Home then? How is this so different to Long Way Home?
Okay, The Long Way Home originally began as like a standalone short story until I realized that it
Okay,
could be something longer, and that was what second gen synthetics came to be eventually.
okay. So it's like a collection of stories. Is that right? Like
Yes,
para siyang uh, Black Mirror ganon.
collection of short stories that are connected. So, uh,
Okay, okay.
yes. So,
Nice, nice.
yeah,
Okay.
there were
And
five stories there.
how is like what is the world like? I mean, anong
The world,
year? Anong in the
2087.
second gen syntax? Yeah. So like how would you describe yung environment niya?
Okay, this takes place in a futuristic Philippines. It
Mhm,
turned out it I specifically titled it set in 2087 because I was
mhm,
fascinated with like the 1980s, and I wanted to like channel that kind of like retro futuristic cyberpunk vibe into a futuristic 2080 setting. This
mhm,
takes place in the Philippines where uh it okay, it takes place after a revolution, so it's like
mhm,
a few years, or 2 decades after a revolution. And what do we say, what else can I say about it without spoiling it all? um
mhm,
we're still, there are still problems like poverty, inequality, and justice, of course, but the Philippines economically advanced through due to our automotive industry. We have flying cars, and it's mentioned several times in the book that we produce cars, we manufacture cars, we own big car companies in the world, and
mhm.
one of them is actually owned by a synthetic corporation. You'll get to see more of that in how it plays out and how it
Right.
affects each of the characters in the book itself. I don't want to spoil it too much.
Cool. Okay. And then, so how, like, so as you're developing this, the book, and you mentioned it's a little bit like Blade Runner, and it's based on like the life, like, how the life is or was in the 80s. Um, how how did you mold? How did you get to that process? Like, what was your thinking? What events on specifically Dito? Because I read it all, and I noticed there were things about like Duterte and there's a couple of others. The automotive industry definitely stands out. How does the politics you think shape like 2008, the world in 2087 for Pinoys?
Okay, that's a good question because science fiction is inherently political, in my opinion. It
Mm-hmm.
is a future. It is a, especially when we talk about futuristic fiction, you cannot write futuristic fiction without a knowledge of history, and history is intrinsically entangled with politics. So that's how politics and dystopian fiction um, are entwined. Like you cannot separate the two, and that's how I normally write. Whether my previous book was full of historical fiction stories, and this one is no different in that aspect, except for the fact that the stories are set in 2087. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how
Why is
did
it
the
2087 so significant for you? What's a why is the 87 why isn't it like 2083
54?
or
Oh, I think it's.
54 or you know?
I tried. Besides the fact that it's inspired by the 80s, I tried to like. Okay, when you write stories, especially ones set in the future, you have to make a timetable for the things that happened
Mm,
before it. And in my history, the really I patterned it loosely on or on the 20th century.
mhm.
There were revolutions. There were I think the first quarter storm happened around 1970. So I just patterned that in
Okay.
in the 20. Yes, so 2000, so the synthetic revolution happened in 2060s, 2070s, And then after that, we have the 2080s, which is supposed to be a free post-revolution
Mm-hmm.
world, but we still see things like discrimination against synthetics, which kind
Mm-hmm.
of like mirrors the post-EDS disillusionment and corruption that is still ongoing when people forget what happened, but how people, for instance, the martial law died and sacrificed their lives and for the freedom of like the generations that would come after them. However, certain problems during that their period still persisted even after Marcos was dead or Marcos was
Mm-hmm.
ousted, and that sort of mirrored the happenings in the century after that, and that was what I was trying to like drive into. Like there was a struggle,
Mm-hmm.
there was a revolution, there was hope, but there was also disillusionment because several problems, several social issues weren't resolved. People still made the same mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like you mentioned second gen on your book and the
Mm-hmm.
synthetics, and that gives an imagery of androids and robots and
Yes.
things like that. So, I mean, when you talk about second gen synthetics, does that include like humans with augmented sort of limbs and or enhanced like enhanced capabilities through prosthetics or something like that? What do you classify as second gen, and how do they differ from humans exactly?
Oh, it's simple. Synthetics were produced. They
Mm-hmm.
were derived from like the cells of original human beings, but they were computerized. They're essentially machines. These are the first generation synthetics. Now, when they gained freedom, around the time that they were gaining freedom during the revolution, they so many of them produced children. So they were able to not only develop feelings, but they were also able to have children. And these children grew up to be 20 years old, 25 years old, like Nelson and Madeline, for instance, from the stories. And these characters are already second generation synthetics because their parents were their first generation. And then I wanted to focus on the second generation in particular because they weren't alive during the time of the revolution. So they're basically benefiting from the revolution. At the same time, they're the ones who want more. And they have every right to want more because there were still some issues that their parents weren't able to like resolve for their future or their current reality.
Okay. So these guys, which are like the Gen
Mm-hmm.
X's, I believe, like hang on, no, Gen X's are born, say for instance, in martial law. The martial law babies like come in around 1970, so that would be me. Like and then they want more freedom, they want more acceptance. How are they perceived like in like in the Philippines? I mean, we're pretty, I guess we're pretty tolerant most of the times of things.
Yes.
Um, but I mean, like, what's the distinct? Why are they a target, Lola? Why are
Okay.
they looked upon differently, kumbaga? Yeah.
Simple. Number one, they weren't seen as natural, and in a
Uh huh.
country that's deeply Catholic, deeply religious, that is very taboo. That's still taboo. So I can imagine
Right.
that they would be classified as freaks, um,
Okay.
not not considered human by not just the Catholic Church, but probably other religious institutions. That is
Mm-hmm.
not to say, though, that there are no Catholics and no religious people in my book. There are positive Catholic and religious representation because there are. I mean, it's something that I believe that it's something that certain institutions will take some time to accept, but it will they will
Mm-hmm.
eventually get there. What makes them targeted besides the religious aspect, the economic aspect that they were stealing jobs because these are
Okay.
humanoids. These are
Mm-hmm.
they are technically robots, so they can
Mm-hmm.
compute easily. They have good memories. They can control their hearing, their sight, uh, they're considered superhuman in several aspects, and these threaten like the jobs of it's basically what we are seeing now with our like very primitive version of AI. Yes, they're stealing jobs, stealing opportunities, and
Do
this
they
these are the
believe?
things that yes,
Yeah,
these
did they
make
believe in anything? Like, are they like? Do they have a religion? Like,
uh
how does that play
synthetics,
in
the
there?
synthetics.
Yeah, yeah, because you know, like, so in the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
90% Christians, or something like that, or 80% Christians. So if you're a synthetic and you come here, it's like you have to adopt something because already, if you don't have a religion, you're targeted. So, are there any instances in this world where they've adopted some kind of religion, or they accepted in any kind of religion? Like, what's happened there?
Okay, this is not exactly a spoiler, but there was a mention of like an old professor who's a staunch Catholic, and he was able to like merge his beliefs in the Catholic Church and his being of synthetics. So he believes that even God accepts synthetics as human
Right.
beings, so that they can still go to heaven and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. But in the regard, like, do synthetics believe in God? Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
are Christian, some of them are Muslim. It really
Mm-hmm.
depends on what they are inclined to believe in. Very much like
Mm-hmm.
naturals. The difference is that they are just synthetic. They are capable of things that naturals aren't
Mm-hmm.
capable of doing, like controlling their um.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, hearing and eyesight and memory, and they also have like holographic device and controls on their arms, for instance. They can check
Mm-hmm.
themselves. They're technically bionic. And
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing, though, in the difference between I'm not sure if you have noticed this, but I tried as much as possible to capture how naturals are repulsed by these features of synthetics. If they aren't even though there's this element of like wonder, amusement, and jealousy, they do not want these bionic features as well, because they want to separate and exalt themselves as humans and naturals who are superior, more pure than these synthetics. So that's why there's like a clear
So,
divide between this and that in the book.
okay. And so, how do the synthetics feel about humans? I mean, like, what do uh, what do they think of us? I mean, we have these feelings about them, but what are their feelings towards us?
The first feeling that they want is to be seen as equal to them. So like there's anger, and this is a very kind of a valid anger. At the same time, there's also love, because there are synthetics who are able to like forge relationships and friendships with naturals. They see themselves as equals. They just want them to be recognized as their equals, because there are things that naturals aren't. Naturals, there are things that synthetics can't do that naturals can do, and vice versa. For instance, naturals needed to be charged. I think that's one thing that you notice right away, that they need charging ports wherever they go. They need like several. They have bio batteries. They run on bio batteries, and yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
needed to be charged. They have these all these amazing features, but they're vulnerable to illnesses. We have Chloe, one of the stories in one of the characters in Electric Youth.
Yeah,
I'm not going to spoil
I remember.
anything, but that her disability plays a huge part in her arc, and
Mm-hmm.
this talks about the vulnerability of synthetics as well. So they don't see themselves as above or below naturals. They just want to be seen as their equal, but they're also angry at the fact that they aren't accepted as they aren't accepted as like they're not treated like humans. So in my
Mm-hmm.
stories, I focus on the aspects. I focus on the characters who are artists, and I think this was a very interesting or
Mm-hmm.
easy
I remember
way
that.
to like portray humanization, because art is basically a faculty of humanity. This is why we are able to be. This is where we capture our humanity, our art. We explain our suffering in songs, in poems, in paintings, and so on.
Here's the thing. With you, I mean, if this okay, first of all, are the second gens based on humans, or are they like meant to be evolved as better than humans? I mean, how are there? What is the ideology in creating them?
Creating them.
Like there's a two-part question. Kasi, okay,
Mhm.
anyway, let me ask you that first. So, what is the basis for creating them? What are they created for originally?
Okay, this wasn't explained. Wait, this would be explained more thoroughly in the sequel, which I'm working on.
Okay,
Yes,
cool. All right.
we're
Okay.
already promoting it at early now, but I have mentioned it
Yeah.
there that they
All
were
right.
created to be slaves of humans when the automotive industry was on the
Okay.
rise.
Cool.
Okay.
So here's the thing: if they're created as slaves, and if you look at the history of humans, what happened to the slaves? They were freed, right? And
Yes.
they're fighting for equality, and eventually they got it. There's still some issues, but eventually there is equality in the way the laws are applied to everybody as humans. However, if these second gens are much more superior, you have to look at also at history of how superior beings treated the not so sophisticated, say the Aztecs or the us, the Filipinos, when the Spaniards came over, and so there's always that feeling that we're superior, therefore you will bow to us. Now, is that starting to foment with the second gens? Like they know they're superior in every way to get the job done. So is there a little faction that's starting to think that maybe we shouldn't be equal to them? Because okay, if I had their ability, okay, yeah, I have my weakness, but overall I can do the job better than any human. Why wouldn't I think to be superior? You know what I mean?
You are already delving into sequel territory. And Nelson, one of the characters there, he is going to play a part in that aspect. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but yes, there will be a faction that does exactly that,
Mm-hmm.
and but in the book, it focuses more on those who want equality, who don't really consider themselves as like superior to naturals or
Yeah.
first generation synthetics. They just feel superior in the sense that they deserve more. Like
Yeah.
the
They
freedom on
yeah.
paper is not enough.
Mhm.
That they don't like. For example, if we look at Madeline, Chloe, Jonathan, heck, even Nelson in this book, and Chris,
Mhm.
they yes, Chris especially has a huge ego, and he wants to be like he wants to be like he wants the kind of treatment or given to like billionaires of who are natural to be to given to uh natural to synthetics who are also billionaires, but he doesn't
Mhm.
see himself as like above them in that respect.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's
It's
I'm focusing on the characters who don't see themselves as above naturals. But for
okay.
those who do, the minority who do, they will be further explained in the sequel that I'm working on. And I'm very much
Mhm.
excited about it because this one delves less on like the artistic side of the struggle and more of
Right.
the revolutionary side of the struggle. I think I mentioned this on a Facebook post I made in my page, but I was heavily inspired and influenced by Nolan Tanghal and Filibusterismo,
Yes.
and
Yes.
there's a sprinkle of propaganda and revolution right there in the books.
Mhm. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, again, just mentioning that book, that's all about the struggle of the Indios against their masters, and so
Yes.
certainly the sequel will be pretty interesting. I very much, and I'm sure the audience will be interested in terms of what happens when these guys actually rise up, like and declare themselves as superior to humans. There is a short three seasons of an English, I think an English show called Humans. So I recommend you actually check that out. And
Okay.
that kind of, I can see a lot of your book in that, mirroring in that show, and the dynamics between humans and synthetics. So, but Kamal, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your insights on how the future of humanity is going to be.
Thank you
And
too.
yeah, and then more power to your writing, and I hope you complete your sequel soon, so that we could
Yes,
share it with Eight Letters. And certainly, Eight Letters is
definitely.
very proud to have you as one of its authors, and we look forward to more great things from you. So, do you want to just plug your book as to where they can buy it and all that sort of stuff?
Okay. So thank you again, Sir Renato.
No,
I'm
sirs,
excited
just
for this
Ren.
book. Okay. I like so just visit Eight Letters website, and you can also check out my the Facebook page of Eight Letters. So just type in Eight Letters Books, and you may also go to my author page. It's all there. Um where you can like pre-order second gen synthetics. The price is like the price comes at like discount up to November 30. So if you can
Hmm.
order as soon as you can, please do so. Or else the price will like increase. But other than that, check out other Pinoy sci-fi titles on the website as well. We have Fate of a Distant Future. We have other works. We have one of a Symphony of Songs by Rainy Liara later on, which will be featured. And there's also Saint Second Synthetics by yours truly, and it's a cyberpunk short story collection slash novella, because all of the short stories in there are connected, and I hope you enjoy it and learn and derive some hope and inspiration from it.
No worries. Once again, ladies and gents, Carmel, Estrissimo, and Second Gen Synthetics. Get it now, and get it for Christmas and give it as a
Yes,
gift. That would be awesome. And again, Carmel, thank you so much for joining us, and you wish you all the best, like with your future endeavors and your future sequel. And see you again soon on Pinoy Sci-Fi Book Talk. Thank
thank you
you.
as well.
All right. Ciao for now, everyone. And we've got our next guest coming up, like Ryan Riliera. And I hope you enjoyed that little segment. Yeah, certainly is a fascinating topic, the second gen synths. You never know what's going to happen around the corner. And here we have the lovely Rain Riliera, also known by her code as Monsoon. So we're gonna
Monsoon
dig
rain. Yeah.
Monsoon Rain. There you go. And now let me just give you a little introduction of our lovely lady, a short one, and then I'll let her take over. She's a director of a uh, a health organization, a nonprofit like mental health organization, and she's written this book, which is it's almost like a sci-fi fantasy book about using music as a form of not just communication but weaponized. So really fascinating stuff. So she's done. She's kind of an all-rounder. She's a poet. She writes diesel punk, and I believe she's also a mental health advocate. And so, without further ado, let's bring in Miss Monsoon Rain Brillera. How you doing? Okay, Monsoon Rain coming in. There you go.
There I
How are
am
ya?
again. Hello, I'm doing great, and it's good to
Yep.
see you again. We've met
Yes, yeah.
before.
That's right. At MIDF, I believe. Yeah.
Yes.
So, so tell us about yourself. So what's going on? What's happening currently in your life?
So I think you summed up pretty well. So I have several day jobs.
Mm-hmm.
one of which is running
I can
my
relate.
own craft
Mm-hmm.
business. And yeah, nakita ko lang yung comment ni ano dito,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Cindy.
that's cool. Yeah, yeah.
And I also work as an editor for
Mm-hmm.
an Australian AI solutions company. That's
Nice.
mostly what I do now. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I help run a mental health nonprofit organization. And
Very
then I
nice.
write
So,
speculative fiction, like as a
mhm.
hobby.
Oh, okay. That's fun. How did you, so from mental health, like advocate and working for an AI company, like how does that how did you get into like writing speculative fiction?
From when I was a kid. So ano kasi ako, even up to now, so I'm an introvert and I like doing things like on my
Mm-hmm.
own. So one of those activities that I love to do ever since I was a kid was reading books. So I read a lot of
Right.
books, and in particular yung isang story that I read maybe when I was 7 or 8 is Flatland by
Mm-hmm.
Edwin Abbott. And yun
Okay.
yung parang nag-open sa akin na it's not like strictly sci-fi, it's parang ano nga siya, math fiction.
Okay.
It's math
Okay.
fiction. So, parang yung premise nun is, they live in a flatland. Iba yung flat
Mm-hmm.
earther ha. This is
Yeah, yeah,
aminadong
yeah.
fiction ito.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they live
yeah.
on a
No,
flat
okay.
land. And
Okay.
then yung mga citizens doon are two-dimensional figures. So like
Okay. Uh-huh.
squares, triangles,
Oh, how
ganon. Just,
interesting. Okay.
yeah, and then that story is told from the point of view of a square. Tapos kinakwento niya kung how their society works kasi ano yun parang mind blown sa akin na parang it's such a completely different way of looking at things. 'Di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did like was I cut up mga triangles and squares and I put them flat on the table and I was pretending like I was a citizen of Flatland, parang gano'n.
Yep, yep. That is
Yeah.
so cool. Yep.
Yeah, so parang and then later on dun sa story, like si Square ay ano,
Mhm.
nalaman niya yung existence ng three dimensions. Oo, so
Ah,
parang
okay.
mind blown siya na may three dimensions pala na nag-e-exist. So parang
Mhm.
yun talaga yung nag-start sa akin on speculative fiction, on sci-fi. And then
Okay.
of course all the other sci-fi greats like Star Wars and Star
Mhm.
Trek, Doctor Who, um, and my
You're
favorite
mhm.
author is Ursula Le Guin. Yeah.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was
Yeah.
super
Mhm.
inspired by those things,
What
and I
about
thought,
William Gibson? Have you heard of William Gibson?
I don't know.
Neuromancer. Like it's about cyber, basically a cyber world, and yeah. Anyway, it's it's ultra sci-fi, and it's about how digitally intertwined his world is, and so it might be something
Mm.
that as a mental health advocate, I think if you read that one, you might like it because it's heavily into the psyche, getting into the psyche of um what it'd be like to be a cyber what's it like to be in cyber world, that sort of thing.
I'll write that down because I'm always on the lookout for mga babasahin na sci-fi. Especially these days, I'm really trying to look for, of course, Pinoy sci-fi, ganyan. And
Right.
and of
Okay.
course, all the
Yeah.
other international sci-fi na
Yeah.
maganda basahin. Mhm.
Cool.
Yun. So that's how I got started writing
Hmm.
fantasy and sci-fi. Parang sabi ko, try ko din lang kasi I had some ideas. So, why not? But I
Hmm.
started writing mga short stories kasi ang hirap magsulat ng mga talagang uh,
I know. I can
long
relate.
form. Yun.
Yeah.
'Di
Hmm.
ba? So, parang I started short stories, at least mabilis mo lang matatapos.
Yeah.
But then, yun nga na um, last June, I think it was June, sa 8 letters meron yung 30-day novella challenge. So I joined that
Mm,
ng 8 letters, and that's how I was able to write A Symphony of Suns, which is a novella, and so far my longest piece of writing that I've done.
cool. And
Mhm.
congratulations on that. And so, like, now we veer into the topic of your book. Like, how I'll let you introduce it. So, because it's very unique in itself, because it's all about tunes and sounds, and so let's get into that. Like, so how would you describe your current masterpiece?
Okay, so when I introduce it to people, I say it's a musical solar punk novella about amending the Constitution. So parang
Okay.
nandun na lahat. So merong
Mm-hmm.
music, and then merong solar punk, which is like
Mm-hmm.
a relatively, well, yung term is relatively new na ano, na sa subgenre ng science fiction. And then amending the Constitution kasi I'm a pol sci graduate and I'm very
Mm-hmm.
much into those kind of things. Like sabi ni Carmel
Right.
kanina, 'di ba? Like sci-fi is inherently political, whether it's obvious or
Mm-hmm.
not, but it is. So basically, that's my book, and uh, I take inspiration from all my favorite things in life. So yun.
Mm-hmm.
So music,
Nice.
sci-fi, and politics.
So, okay, you mentioned that music is trying to change or trying to affect policy change, or mending the constitution. How do you think that's that is impactful in this book? Like, what are they trying to achieve, like with music?
Okay. Yeah, so ikwento ko na din lang yung ano niya,
Mm-hmm.
yung plot without,
Mm-hmm.
I hope, without giving away too much.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
That's cool.
All right. So this yung story is set on a planet called Pericoth, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a planet that orbits three suns. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was a Tatooine, two suns. Let's put one more. Let's do three suns. And the planet orbits these suns in a figure eight orbit.
Okay.
Yan.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And in this world was created by Thyssen, the god of music. So that's why music is like the end all and be all in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, it's the most important thing, and the prevailing system, political system dito sa book is meritocracy. So it's called in
Mm-hmm.
the book Merisys, meritocratic system. So what a meritocracy is, it's a political system in which the positions of power are given to according to one's skills and abilities.
Okay.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
if you're a virtuoso,
Mm-hmm.
you're the best of the best at your instrument, you're ganon. So you will be put into a position of power dito sa world ng Pericoth. Okay, so parang ano siya, so if you think about it, 'di ba? It's fair
Mm-hmm.
na
Yeah.
you yeah, na you get far in life depending on um your hard work, yung gano'n, yung
Mm-hmm.
ano mo, passion and dedication to your craft.
Right. Right.
But here comes the protagonist. Ayan siya.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Ito si Iroha, ayan. So this is a
Mm-hmm.
sticker, a chibi sticker that I made for giving away nung MIBF,
Mm-hmm.
ayan. So
Nice. Nice.
she plays the violin, and she's like super galing and possibly the GOAT, the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But she tries to hide her musical abilities.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so na ano, na curious ngayon itong si God of Music, si Thyssen, like why would you
Mm-hmm.
do that? What don't you want ano a position of power, a
Mm-hmm.
position of prestige. So nagmarites ngayon itong si Thyssen, and
Mm-hmm.
then yun yung mari-reveal eventually sa book na kung bakit Iroha, ito pala si Thyssen, ayan siya, the god of
Mhm.
music. But he takes on a human form. Yan. So, yun yung um, magiging revelation, like why Iroha hides her true musical aptitude. And
Mhm.
they would realize na they have a mission that they must do together. And so parang ano din siya, travel adventure, ganun. Because they need to go to uh, many places in their world in order to achieve their mission. And one of their friends that they meet is, ayan, si Alice.
Mhm.
Alistair. So
Okay.
yun. And I think this book reads like a high fantasy, which is by
Okay.
design kasi I really
Mhm.
love high fantasy as well. And um pero lahat ng nangyayari sa mundong ito is based on science.
Mhm.
So kaya siya
Mhm.
science
Okay.
fantasy. Hindi ko lang siya inexplain in detail because I didn't want to bog down the narrative with needless exposition. So yung the science here is on a need to know basis. So like yung pag-harness nila ng solar power, which is essential to the plot. So yun yung medyo
Mhm.
inexplain dito sa novella, which is just the first installation. So,
Mhm.
part one pa lang ito of I'm planning
Right.
four novellas. Mhm. So this is the first movement, and then there's until the fourth movement. So
Okay.
basically, yun yung yung uh, premise, yan, ng Symphony of Sons.
So did you read Greek mythology as well? Like have you? Oh, okay. Because I'm
Yes,
sensing a
required
little
reading
Greek
siya
mythology.
sa ano eh.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That
Nung
makes
high
sense. All
school.
right. 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 Okay. So that makes sense. I was just thinking, like, you mentioned like using the power of the sun. So in this world, like we're having three suns, they say that I think what is it? Type one civilization. Um, oh, sorry. Type two is when you harness the power of the sun and you start to affect like your environment or colonize other planets, that sort of thing. Um, so how do they use? Is that what they're using the sun for, or are they kind of uh, like yeah, I'm curious. How would they use the power of the sun? So what are they applying it
Mm.
on?
Yes. Oh, yan yung I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but the Kardashev scale ng
Yes, there
planetary.
you
How
go. Yep, that's the one.
like levels of usage nila ng
Mm-mm.
power utilization and
Yep, yep.
okay. So dito, it's like the very early stages of harnessing the sun. So prior
Mhm.
to the story, the start of the story, ano siya, parang they had solar panels but it was not very
Mhm.
efficient. And
Right.
then yung one character doon na si Alistair Vandrexton, so nag-invent siya ng mas efficient na way of capturing solar energy, which is the sun catcher. So
Mhm.
doon pa lang sila nagsisimula na magkaroon ng mas efficient na mga equipment, na technology, and they use it to power amplifiers.
Okay. Okay.
Oo, yung electric guitar, ayan, ano pa lang, kaka-discover pa lang nila ng usage of electricity for amplifying their instruments. So parang
Mhm.
turning point siya nung civilization nila, and dun nga medyo may growing pains,
Mhm.
parang figuring out, uh, 'di ba, your place in the new civilization,
Mhm.
parang gano'n. So, medyo may clash between the social classes. Kasi nga 'di ba, it's very highly stratified na you're ranked
Mm.
according to your musical ability. So, paano yung mga hindi marunong or walang musical ability. So they're like designated as laborers, yung mga gumagawa ng nagpuputol ng
Mhm.
kahoy para magawang instrument, gano'n. So yon, so parang may solar punk kasi is like envisions a world that brings together nature, community, and technology. Um, so para siyang yung opposite ng dystopia. It's like utopia, everything is like clean,
Mm,
bright, butterflies and sunshine. Pero how to get to that point, 'di ba?
mm.
It's not that easy. So yun yung ina-explore dun sa book na how would they get to this point na yung ideal solar punk society.
And I'm fascinated with weapons, like
Yeah.
how did they, like how did the weapons develop, or what do they look like
Mhm.
is it something like bringing down the walls of Jericho, like using trumpets to tear down like a wall, like how does it work?
Yeah, so lahat is founded on sound or sonic. Yan,
Okay.
mga sonic weapons. Although dito sa first movement, hindi pa siya masyadong na-explore. Although may parang, merong foreshadowing about, yun nga, like using uh, sounds as weapons. Ganon. So, but here in this book, um, hindi pa masyado na-explore yon. But yeah, everything is based on Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
Oo.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know yung sa mga Sonic weapon na for example yung saan ba yun sa Cuba ata tas sabi nung mga American na nasa embassy ginamitan sila ng
Mm-hmm.
sonic weapon, gano'n,
Mm-hmm.
na without them knowing or hearing anything. Pero
Mm-hmm.
parang they suddenly fell ill and then the they claimed na it was ano nga, parang some kind of sonic weapon. So, mga gano'ng
Right.
klase yung magagawa nila dito sa civilization.
Okay. So, is there a point in the book where they were actually using sonic weapons as a destructive force against, like buildings or tanks, or like is there something in there like that, where they have to use it to physically destroy things?
Mm.
I'm envisaging, like like the walls of Jericho again, like how they did that.
Okay, that's interesting that you ask that. So the people themselves, wala pa silang capability to do that in this book. But towards the end of the book, merong gagamit ng sound as a weapon. And
Mhm.
parang ayoko spoil, pero parang ganun na nga yung sinabi mo.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Because I'm seeing also, I don't know if you know the series Dune.
Yeah, yeah,
If
I
you've
love
seen
Dune.
the iterations of it, it's like Muad'Dib. They use the word Muad'Dib as like
Mhm.
the trigger, like so they can crack
Yeah,
bones, they can destroy like objects just by saying the voice. So like they
yeah,
resonate, the resonance, the sound resonance actually causes the atoms to break apart and all that sort of thing. So
yeah, yeah.
by
Parang
yeah,
ganun.
parang ganon. Oh, okay, no, that's cool. Okay, yeah, yep. There's also the sort of things that I was reading, like at one, TikTok has got a lot of these things, and then they were talking about how certain types of sound like distorts human emotions and human
Mhm.
thinking, and can make you sick and that sort of stuff. So there's a frequencies that you're not supposed
Yeah.
to constantly play because it'll make people sick. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just kind of fascinating. And so in terms of character development with the book, I mean, what did you base your characters on?
Hmm. So I think yung main character of Iroha is loosely based on many people I know in the music circles.
Okay,
Kasi
okay.
I grew up in the music circles. I was enrolled in piano when I was 6. Then I
Hmm.
took drums at 12. And then when I
Nice.
was in university, I played in several different bands. So parang yun din yung inspiration ko for why making it a musical world. Because I
Mm-hmm.
did live in a musical world.
There you
So
go.
so yon, merong mga sobrang magagaling na virtuoso levels. One of them is my
Mm-hmm.
sister. She plays the
Nice.
piano. And then parang sobrang galing, but parang hindi naman sa shy sila, but but they don't put it out there, gano'n. Parang
Okay.
ano lang, it's for their own enjoyment and fulfillment. Oo, kasi
Mm-hmm.
akala nung yung mga concert level pianist, 'di ba, you have to perform, ganyan, and
Right.
stuff. But meron din naman yung gusto lang talaga na they they enjoy music by themselves, they play music, they create music, and it doesn't have to be like all about fame and fortune and stuff like that. So yun
So,
yung basis ko for Iroha. Mhm.
right. Okay. So, like, how these people interact? Do they like sing to each other? Because if it's a musical world, so all the
Yeah.
dialogue is like in music, right? So, yeah. So every word has got a tune or something. There's like a different kind of tune for everyone. So, have you? Is that how the book is written? Like everyone is kind of like singing a song, or do you
Okay, so
describe the tone of each one?
it depends on which dominion then. So the world is divided into
Mm-hmm.
dominions like countries.
Right.
And dun sa where Iroha is, so parang music is more chill sa kanila, ganon. But when they
Okay.
go to another dominion, which is Vandrixton, so yun yung their language is actually parang singing. So like,
Okay.
so may
Uh-huh.
tones ang kanilang mga words. So if you say a word, the same sound but a different tone, then that has a
Okay.
different meaning.
Okay.
Well, parang Chinese, 'di ba? May tones
Right,
siya na
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 'di
Pero
ba?
this is more so like I guess, like parang kumakanta yung sinasabi nila, ganun. Parang
Yeah. But may mga gano'n din sila na mga like rituals or
Oo.
traditions. So
Okay. Yeah.
si Iroha, whenever she goes in and out of a room, like when she goes out of a room, kakanta muna siya. May kinakanta siya,
Oh,
gano'n.
okay.
So
Wow.
parang
Cool.
may basis din siya. I was hugely inspired also by music here in the Cordilleras. I live in Baguio
Mhm.
kasi.
Ah, okay. Yes.
So
Yeah.
so meron yung
Mhm.
mga parang, songs like Ogayam, which is like parang, uh, singing speech, parang
Mhm.
gano'n, something like
Mhm.
that. Parang yung speech,
Right.
they give a speech pero it's in the form of singing na
Right.
improvise, oo, ano din lang siya, improvisation. So mga
Oh,
gano'ng
okay.
klase. And
Nice.
may mga
Okay.
songs
Mhm.
din talaga like meron ditong they randomly break out in song. Ma
Okay. So parang sa Lord of the Rings din may mga
Oo,
poems and songs.
yun.
Okay. Yeah. No,
Oo.
I get it.
There
So
and back
very good.
again. Mm.
Awesome. Okay. We're coming towards the end of the segment, and so once again, we thank you for your appearance on our show today, like a book talk. And how about you tell people where they can get your book? So this is your time to plug your book, so to speak.
Okay, sure. So that's my book on the screen. This is the
Mm-hmm.
hard copy, and you can buy it sa Eight Letters website. So just search for it there, Symphony of Suns, the first movement. And then also Shopee. It's available
Mm-hmm.
on Shopee. And then they can also, yung mga taga Baguio, they can also order from me and they can get the
Mm-hmm.
signed copy plus mga freebies and stuff. Yeah, so they can pick it up at a shop here in Baguio along Session Road. And can I also just say thank you sa mga nanonood?
Mm.
uh,
Yeah.
si
There's about.
Darcy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello, Darcy. Bumili din siya ng libro ko. And
And
Doc
Jenny.
Jenny, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Kasama ko nagsusulat ng sci-fi
Yeah.
din. Ayan, si D.A. Chan, hello. And of
Yeah.
course, Miss Cindy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ayan. So thank you so
Fantastic.
much. So So if you're into music or politics or even food, or you just like a good travel adventure, then please give this a shot. And I hope you find a little bit of yourself within these pages. Because what this ultimately is an exploration into the human spirit. So like our aches, our aspirations, our reason for being. So please check it out.
Fantastic. And well, there you go, folks. I mean, I do hope that you get this book because it certainly is a a a world on its own. And so, get it for Christmas or give it as a present to somebody. Like, and I guess it's also a great read for kids, especially aspiring musicians and whatnot. So I mean, this is a great book that combines like writing and your love for music, I guess. So fantastic, great job, Monsoon Rain. So I hope looking forward to the sequel. I guess. How long will that be? Do you think before you release that one?
Natatakot ako magbigay ng ano.
That's all right. It's okay. It's coming out soon. Okay,
Sometime in the future,
sometime in
ayan.
the
Let's
future.
see.
Great,
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, thank you so
Maybe
much,
distant
Miss.
future.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Rain Riliera. And this is towards the end of our show, and we look forward to having you again on Book Talk, Pinoy Sci-Fi, and all the best. And we'll see you soon. See you in the next event.
Yeah, bye.
Bye for now. Have a good one.